If you're considering buying a Subaru WRX, there are definitely some things that you want to look out for that are signs that you should not buy a certain car. I'm standing in front of my 2015 Subaru WRX Limited. I've owned this car for quite a while. I went through the process that you were probably going through yourself, searching for one of these cars. And let me tell you the 5 or 10 things to look out for when buying a Subaru WRX that are going to tell you a little bit more about the car and the risks that you could be inheriting buying a Subaru WRX. Before I get completely started, guys, I'm going to hop in the car and we're going to continue the video while I take it for a drive. Alright guys, I just hopped into the car. I thought it would be a great idea to get out of the potential rain. For a lot of you guys that take pictures of your car and record videos of your car, the best time to film is right before it starts raining, because you have basically a little, like, the lighting's great if it's right before it's about to rain. So I tried to get in a little bit of filming, and now we're in the car because it's starting to sprinkle and I don't want to get my DSLR wet. So yeah. And guys, before we get started, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing if you want to hear more about WRXs or automotive content. And for you guys that are subscribed to my channel, I tried to position the camera in a different way so you couldn't see what is all in my car, because my car is packed full of stuff right now, packed full of 4 things actually, and I don't want to reveal what is going to be happening in the future episodes of this car, but you may be able to see it still in this camera angle. And if you can, comment below and tell everybody what my next, or kind of in the next week, what a video is going to be coming out with. There are 4 of them in the car. I am sure that gives away a lot of information, but comment below if you know at this point and can catch exactly what the newest video will be. Okay, let's get right into it. You're considering buying a Subaru WRX. I think this applies to pretty much any year Subaru WRX. I think the safest purchases are the 2015 through 2019. Let me tell you why. The FA20 motor has been a really resilient motor, and that's what's coming with the 2015 through 2019 WRX. That is not, however, what's coming with the STI in these years and every other Subaru WRX or WRX STI, you know, kind of ever. If you're looking at other WRXs, you're probably looking at the EJ series motor, and we all know that those are great motors for tuning, and for tuning for a short period of time or a short mileage. So the first step to picking out a new Subaru WRX is I really recommend getting the FA20 motor. There are a lot of reasons why this motor is great, and the only downside is the sound, because you have equal length headers, and yeah, it kind of sucks. You don't get the Subaru rumble, but everything else is better. So if you're really looking into buying a Subaru WRX, one of the things that you're really concerned about is what has been done to the car, assuming that you're buying it used. So the big worry right there is that there was a lot of engine work done or tuning done with the used Subaru WRX that you were considering purchasing. And I went through this myself. I was looking for a new WRX. Well, I was looking to buy a WRX used or new. I wasn't sure at the time, but I was looking for about 7 months because I was really scared about buying a WRX that had been tuned, abused. I wanted to know the history of what was going on. I wanted to know all of these things, and it's really hard to find a WRX that has that. So I ended up getting a 2015. I bought it with like 26,000 miles from a dealer in Long Island. I drove kind of far away, 5 hours, not super far away. I bought my last Genesis Coupe like 21 hours away, so that was a long drive. But regardless, 7 months, it was 5 hours away from me. It was a good deal. And I didn't really know too much about the owner before. I just knew that it was an older woman and that it only had 26,000 miles on it, 27,000 miles. I don't really remember, something around that. So I thought it was going to be a good buy, ended up buying it. It's been a great car so far. But what are the things that I was looking out for? So number 1 is you want to look for signs of tuning. And there's a couple ways to do that. Many of these cars are tuned with access ports. Actually, the majority are tuned with access ports. Whether you're getting an off-the-shelf tune and you're downloading from the access port, or the access port is being used to regulate a e-tune or a custom tune. Usually you're going to have some type of access port. Now, I've seen a lot of Subaru WRXs in my time and looking at them, and with this channel, and just in my life of automotive enthusiasm, and very few people actually do suction cup mounted access ports. A lot of people do, but the majority are actually going to mount their access port somewhere more solid on their car. Often, if you're right where the camera is here, somewhere on your center console, you're going to have an anchor point. Same here, if you're going to mount it over here and not stick it to the window, you need an anchor point. So one of the things that you can do is you can look to see if there were any anchor points on the car for an access port. Now, some dealerships are really smart and they'll try to
tear it off and clean it up, but often they're stuck on with either Velcro or 3M tape, and it really ends up being like some type of 3M adhesive. So what you can do is actually look for that. Now, sometimes you'll run into phone chargers. That's an easy difference, right? Phone chargers are often nowadays magnetic, and if they're more of an arm-based phone charger, it's going to be hung from the window. So often that's going to be for your access port. So that's number 1 on our list. Number 2 on our list is going to be looking for modifications that need to be supported by a tune, because the owner might have taken off the access port, left the tune on the car, and given it to the dealer, or be trying to sell it private sale to you. Now, there are a couple things with Subaru WRXs that you definitely need to get a tune, and if you don't have a tune, it's even bigger of a red flag because the car isn't running in a healthy manner. So those things are going to be things like a J-pipe or a downpipe, or an intake blow-off valve, anything that's going to change exhaust flow significantly, pre-cat, or it's going to change air intake volume or attributes. Those are 2 things that your ECU regulates in a stock form, that if you change those physical mechanical attributes in the car, the computer system also needs to adjust, and that's where the tune comes in. So if you see either of those 2 things, definitely stay away from the car unless you're buying it to tune it and you don't care. And yeah. So another big thing to look out for that I actually saw a couple times when I was looking to buy a new Subaru WRX prior to buying this car was that some Subaru WRXs had front mount intercoolers. Now stock Subaru WRXs have top mount intercoolers. You can actually look at the engine and you can usually see some type of Subaru insignia on the intercooler unit itself or around it. You can definitely tell if it's still the stock top mount unit. Now, if you have a front mount intercooler, again, that's something you're looking for, that probably a tune was needed. And the only real reason to upgrade your intercooler is to be able to push more power in these cars, and that, again, leads back to tuning. So that's kind of 1, maybe 2 things to look out for tuning, aftermarket parts that require tuning. Number 3 on our list is going to be owner history. These are enthusiast cars, and every enthusiast is really proud of everything they've done with their car. Look at me. I have a YouTube channel and Instagram about my car. I'll probably plug the Instagram right now. It's going to be down here. Check that out if you want to see more pictures of my car. It's kind of cool, yeah. But yeah, so if the owner doesn't have a huge history of the car, or the Carfax is iffy, that's sort of another red flag. These cars should be meticulously owned. However, don't get too shook about the Carfax. If you're not seeing regular oil changes on the Carfax, that's completely fine. I don't take my car in to change the oil. These cars are designed for little things like that: oil change, air filters, all that type of things. Super easy to do yourself on these cars. They're designed for the user to do it themselves. And yeah, so the Carfax maintenance history shouldn't be a huge red flag. The owner should be keeping track of what type of oil they're putting in, what type of equipment they're using, what type of, basically anything they're changing, they should have a record of on when they did it. Those are great things that will help you buy a new car. So I know that that's only like 3 things, but it's actually been like a ton of things, and those are 3 of the best ways. The last one is more of kind of like a subjective view on purchasing these cars, and I think that it's definitely something to consider. And this is a very general statement. Don't take this to offense if you're watching this and you have a WRX and you're younger, or you have a heavily modified one. But one thing you can do to prevent buying a car that may have been mistreated is actually looking at the car, the owner, and what the car looks like. There's something generally to be said about a car with lots of dings and scratches in it. Maybe it wasn't treated well. If you're not going to treat the outside of the car in a pristine manner, how are you treating the engine and all the interior of the car, right? And then the other thing is if the car has lots of exterior modification, that may be a sign that the owner at some point was looking for more power. Now, I say that generally, and be careful there, because I'm one of those people. So far I've made a couple exterior modifications, but I plan to do a lot more. And I think a lot of people on this channel know the likelihood of me tuning this car right now or under my ownership is pretty low. I think that if I were to tune a WRX, I'd probably buy a wrecked one and tune that. And for those of you that are subscribed, that is probably in the near future of this channel, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be super fun. So building off of what the car looks like, sometimes the owner can tell you more about the car. A lot of owners of these cars are younger, like myself, and I've seen a lot of high schoolers with Subaru WRXs. I don't know how they afford them, but that's not me to judge. There's something to be said about younger people or people that don't know a ton about cars. These are definitely cars that need to be owned and cared for by somebody that understands a little bit more about the mechanics and generally that's where you see the best condition WRXs. They're coming from, even if the owner tuned it and beat on it, they keep their car pristine. It's in great condition. It's in, you know, if I knew that there are some other WRX channels out there, right? If I knew that I was buying a WRX from X who's tuned his car to stage 2, tons of horsepower, E-tune, whatever, I might go with his car versus a stock car from some 90-year-old that drove it for 10,000 miles, because I don't know if that 90-year-old was taking care of the car and driving it the way it was supposed to be driven, where I know the person that was stage 2 that did it really well and has content about it, that may have been a better car. So some of it's relative, but I hope the 3 big things that I outlined hasn't been tuned, you know, the modifications that require the tune, and generally what the car looks like and that type of thing. I hope those are things that you will now consider when you're looking for a Subaru WRX, and I hope I've helped. I've helped a couple people on my channel buy WRXs before. They've been, you know, they send me pictures, they ask questions, and I kind of tell them my view. Should they buy it? What are the possible things? What should you do before you buy it? If you're in this situation, feel free to shoot me a message on my Instagram. Feel free to send me a message on my Instagram. Feel free to comment below. I'll answer all your questions. And thanks for watching, guys. For those of you definitely that have stuck through this video, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks, guys.